Hello guys, and welcome to Brazil for another edition of this F1 2014 100% race career. We are just about getting ready for our first lap here in Q1, and as you can see, we actually have a dry race weekend here, even though it's slightly overcast at the moment, and it appears to be so for the rest of the weekend. We are not looking at any rain, and I have to say I did expect it to rain here in Brazil, but not so this time around, and it appears that we actually might be finishing out the season here with 2 dry races, which would definitely improve our chances of taking the Drivers' Championship there in front of Lewis Hamilton. This is going to be our first lap here in Q1. We are shooting for a time within 1:12, 1:15. That should definitely be enough to get us into Q2. 1:13.938, in fact almost 1:14 clean. Nothing spectacular by any means, but it should be definitely within the first 15. And it is. As a matter of fact, it is the fastest time here in Q1, but as you can see, nobody is really putting the pedal to the metal here in the first session. Jean-Enrique Verne is second, and no front runners there, missing out on Q2 soon. Jumping ahead to Q2, this is going to be our first lap coming through the middle sector of the track. We seem to be suffering a little bit here, and it could be down to the setup we're running. We are running a low wing setup here to keep our straight line speed intact, because I seem to remember the last year we drove here in Brazil. Of course, it was raining, but we seem to be under a lot of pressure on the long straights here. Obviously the Toro Rosso car was not as fast as the McLaren, but I really want to keep the straight line speed intact and hopefully just be able to park the bus through the middle sector there. Anyway, that is enough to get us into the shootout here comfortably in 3rd position. Jumping to Q3, this is our first lap, 1:14.419, our slowest lap of the entire weekend here. So we are going to be staying out for an extra lap here. Hopefully, we're going to be able to improve on this as Massa goes on provisional pole there with a 1:12.566. So at least we know what we're going to be shooting for here. But as you can see, Rosberg chopped off a full second of that one, 1:11.576. And we are a full 1.5 seconds slower than he is, and that is our best time all weekend there. So we might be in for a little bit of trouble here come race time, as we are starting 5th on the grid tomorrow. We have the 2 Williams cars right ahead of us, and the 2 Mercedes cars are a 1-2 here. So getting ready for the start here of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Waiting for the 5 lights to go out. Starting 5th on the grid here. By no means a very good qualifying session we had there. And the 2 Williams cars don't seem to get the greatest start there. We are able to dive down the inside of, I believe it is Felipe Massa right there. And also Valtteri Bottas gives us the room here as we come through the right-hand turn 2 there, as we have Rosberg right ahead of us there. We managed to pull by Lewis Hamilton as well, who got an awful start there, and I'm not really sure what's going on, but we managed to go through on the outside of Rosberg there. He appeared to be trying to block the inside line, but in doing so, he left an entire freeway open for us on the right side there, and we had no trouble moving into P1 here of the Brazilian Grand Prix. This is the particular sector of the track here where we are going to be suffering a whole lot here, and as you can see, Rosberg is all over us from behind already, as we are unable to pull away from any of the AI cars seemingly on this particular sector. Hopefully that is going to change here as we come out on the main straight. This is supposedly where we're going to be having the upper hand here today, hopefully. And with Rosberg firmly tucked into our slipstream right behind us there, it does appear that we don't really have the straight line speed to pull away from him here. So that doesn't bode well for the rest of the race. As we jump to lap 3 here, as you can see, there's a bit of a train forming behind us as we are having trouble pulling away from the AI here. And I'm not really sure why the McLaren is as slow as it is. We seem to be off the pace by quite a margin here. I'm quite sure that if these cars were able to pass us right now, they would be pulling away from us by a second a lap. So I'm not really sure what we're doing wrong here, but it could be down to the setup, and I got a feeling we might be suffering for it. Jumping ahead to lap 5 here, by the looks of it, Nico Rosberg might be going into fuel-saving mode, as he seemingly has a habit of doing on his first stint here, as we're able to open up a little bit of a gap on him, or at the very least get him out of DRS range, as he is over 1 second behind us right now. Jumping ahead to lap 8 here, you can see Nico Rosberg again is starting to put us under some pressure, particularly in this middle sector of the track. And also Lewis Hamilton, who had an awful start, is clawing his way back up the field and is now into 3rd place. And if I know Hamilton, that he is going to be closing this gap on Rosberg within quite a short time span here, and is going to start putting us both under pressure. Skipping right ahead to lap 11 here, Hamilton puts in the fastest lap of the race. Our engineer is starting to warn us about our fuel consumption. As you can see, it doesn't look too good at the moment, and I'm not really keen on going into lean mode either, as we are being put under heavy pressure from behind from the 2 Mercedes cars there. On the other hand, I don't want to run out of fuel here and miss out on any chance of scoring some points here, because even though we may not win here today, scoring points is a definite priority, because we need to open up as much of a gap as we can before the season finale there at Abu Dhabi, and hopefully be able to keep Hamilton behind us, even though he might go ahead and win this particular race. Skipping ahead to lap 15 here, Rosberg is definitely having some kind of mechanical issue, as he has dropped almost 7 seconds on us here in a span of 2 or 3 laps. And as you can see, all of a sudden Sebastian Vettel moves into 3rd place. We go from 21 running cars to 19, and it appears that Nico Rosberg and Valtteri Bottas are now both out of the race. So I'm not really sure what happened, but maybe if Rosberg were having brake issues, as he has had in the past there, could have been that Bottas went up and rear-ended him coming into a turn. At any rate, jumping to lap 25 here, we are still in a struggle for our lives here with Lewis Hamilton. As we come out on the DRS straight, he is right behind us. Also, Vettel has closed the gap and is right behind both us and Hamilton here, as we come into the left-hander, run wide just a little bit, but that is enough for Hamilton, moving down the inside of us there, taking P1 in the Brazilian Grand Prix, and I don't think we're going to be seeing him for the rest of the day. I'm not really sure what is going on this track, but we are suffering, and we are off the race pace by at least a second a lap here. So from here on out, it's going to be all about parking the bus, keeping Sebastian Vettel behind us, and hopefully scoring as many points as possible. Jumping right ahead to lap 33 here, we are coming in for our first and only pit stop of the race. And as you can see, we have Sebastian Vettel right behind us there. And lo and behold, once again, we get held up as Vettel passes us in the pits. And I'm not really sure why this keeps happening to us. I mean, this is just getting close to ridiculous, really. So we are going to be rejoining the track in 3rd here, hopefully. And even in the pit lane here, we have Vettel pulling away from us, so things are definitely not looking good in terms of how many points we may be able to squeeze out of this Grand Prix here. But coming out on the main straight here, we have been able to close the gap on Vettel just a little bit here. It should be enough to get us within DRS range, and it is. So we're going to be cranking the engine into rich mode there, and we're going to be passing Sebastian Vettel there on the outside. Nothing he can do about that. Even though we run wide here coming into turn 1, we are back into P2, and we are going to be aiming to stay there. Jumping ahead to lap 41 here, the situation remains pretty much the same. Hamilton is off in front, driving his own race pretty much. We have Vettel right behind us and challenging for P2 right now, and Massa is in 4th, about 20 seconds down. Also, the sun is starting to come out here ever so slightly and is increasing the track temperature, and hopefully that will improve our chances here for the remainder of the race, because we are off the pace, and I'm not really sure why. Skipping right ahead to lap 46, we're actually starting to open up a bit of a gap here on Sebastian Vettel as he appears to be saving fuel at the moment, and I'm not really sure. Could be that he's been running that Renault engine in rich mode for quite some time there, burning off a lot of fuel, and that could explain why he was able to keep pace with us there on the straights, because we, like I said earlier, we are not running a high wing setup there. We are running with next to no downforce, and we should be able to pull away from the Red Bulls on the straights with the engine that we have, but we haven't been able to, so it could be that Vettel has actually been burning too much fuel. And jumping right ahead here to lap 51, it does appear that that may be the case as he is saving fuel at the moment and is starting to drop back, and he's about 2.5 seconds down on us right now. Jumping to lap 57, it appears that Vettel is trying to have another go at it here as he is closing the gap on us right now and is within DRS range. So we may be in for a bit of a rough ride here on the final 14 laps here. There is not much we can do in terms of fuel management as we have been running in standard mode throughout the entire race, and hopefully that is going to be enough to get us to the finish here, but we have nothing to spare and there is no possibility for us to crank the engine into rich mode for a couple of laps here. We're not going to be able to finish the race. Jumping to lap 62 here, we are maintaining the gap down to Vettel here. We are not pulling away from him, but then again, he is not gaining on us either here, and we are driving right to the limit of what we have right now. Our tires are starting to go, and this is as fast as we can possibly go on this track at this particular time in the race. And with Hamilton almost a full minute up the road there, it really illustrates the dominance of the Mercedes team here, and it's too bad for Rosberg. Again, he's unfortunate here, and it's really been a horrible season for him. Skipping ahead to lap 70 as Sebastian Vettel must be pulling his hair out behind us there as he's been knocking on the door almost the entire race, or at the very least for the past 50 laps, which is long enough. But at this point, our tires are starting to go. There is nothing we can do really in terms of lap times. All we can do is just make the car as wide as humanly possible and hopefully keep Sebastian Vettel behind us here for the remaining 2 laps of the race. And not surprisingly, Lewis Hamilton runs away with this one in some fashion, I might add. He's almost a full lap ahead of everyone else, and we managed to keep Vettel behind us here for second. And I have to say, the way this race unfolded, second place here is well above anything we might have hoped for, because we ended up being completely off the pace here, and in no terms were we able to actually match either Rosberg, Hamilton, or Vettel in terms of pace there. And I'm not really sure why Ricciardo isn't higher up in the standings. He might have crashed out, remains to be seen. But judging by the pace of Sebastian Vettel here today, it does appear that the Red Bull team has found some pace here late in the season, and it'll be interesting to see how they fare at Abu Dhabi as well. And as you can see there, yes, Daniel Ricciardo, he did crash out. He did not finish the race. In fact, he went out pretty early in the race, it actually looks like. At any rate, we managed to defend our first place here in the Drivers' Championship. The gap is now down to 21 points before the season finale at Abu Dhabi. But you got to remember that particular race is being driven under 2014 rules, meaning we have double points at stake. So things are definitely going to be interesting there. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to this channel for more F1 2014 action, and I'll be seeing you soon enough. Bye-bye.